Hey everyone, welcome to our session on multicultural worship with our amazing speaker, Raquel Serrano Sargent. I'm super excited to hear what she has to tell us today. Feel free to utilize that chat. Tell us where you're from, have any questions pop up during the session that you have for Raquel. And without further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rebecca, and hello, everyone. Hello. Like she said, feel free to use the chat. I'm definitely going to be asking some questions just to see. I want to know about you. You guys are going to find out plenty about me, but I want to know more about you. So welcome. As she said, welcome to the session about multicultural worship, why you should want it, and steps on how to make it amazing for your small church. I have a lot to go over, so I'm just going to jump in. So a little bit about me, why you should listen to me, I guess in the first place. My name is Raquel Serrano Sargent. I'm 31, born 1990, and born, raised, and live in the city of Chicago in the Albany Park neighborhood. I'm seeing people from Arizona. I'm seeing people from Georgia. Thank you so much for tuning in. But I am a Chi-town girl all the way. Couple fun facts about me, real fast. Married for almost 3 years, 3-year anniversary next month, United Kingdom. Beautiful. Hey there. Marriage anniversary coming up in a week. I am the proud aunt of 5 nibblings. If you've never heard that word before, it's like siblings, but for your nieces and nephews, all 3 and under. So you can imagine what Christmas this year is going to look like. I love public speaking. I do not like chocolate. Judge me how you will. A bit on my ministry background and kind of what spurs me to talk about this. I have been a lifelong worship leader my entire life. My first service that I've ever led worship in, I was 7. So holding a mic and singing and kind of just guiding people into his presence is kind of what I do. Currently serving as the worship leader at New Life Community Church in the Albany Park neighborhood. It's just a community church there, real neighborhood. Everyone is, for the most part, the majority of the congregation is from that neighborhood, which is really nice. We have that community aspect to it. One of my main goals in ministry and what I hope to accomplish today with you all, to help lead you to where God would have you go. What is God calling you to? What is God pushing you towards? And how can I help get you there? Since this is a multicultural chat, I thought I'd drop in some fun culture facts. I am Boricua, or Puerto Rican. I'm first generation born here. My parents were both born on the island. They met here without having met each other before in an English class, got married, had me. I am a millennial. I'm a total 90s kid, completely. And I'm fluent in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. If there's anyone here who speaks Spanish or Portuguese, drop me a hola, a oi in the comments, let me know. But now, hey, hola, FP. But now we're talking about you, right? I want to talk about you. I want to talk about your worship culture, and I would love to know everything about you. But we're going to start a little small, and we're going to start with, if you need to worship, you just need to worship. You're heavy, things are weird, or you're in a good mood, you need to worship. What is your go-to song? Is it a hymn or is it a contemporary? Take a few seconds real fast and let me know in the chat. Just think about it. Contemporary, I see you. Hymn, okay. Contemporary, got it. Yeah, I figure for the most part, this is going to be pretty 50-50. For me, it's hymn, but it's not an English hymn or an American hymn. It's a Spanish hymn, actually, but it's still a hymn. So let's talk about your church's worship culture, since that's what we're here to learn about. Your church's worship culture. In the chat, let me know. At church, are you currently singing more hymns, or are you currently singing more contemporary? Or are you doing a blend? That's also a valid answer. At my church right now, we are definitely doing To Him Be the Glory. Contemporary, To Him Be the Glory in Portuguese. A Ele sea a gloria. Contemporary, got it. How does your congregation engage in worship? Is your church a joyful noise at all time? Y'all are never quiet. It's glory to God every 5 seconds. There's no reason to be silent in this house. Or is your congregation a bit more on the quiet, contemplative, reverent? Not that the other one isn't reverent, but like, a quieter side to things. What are you guys doing? Mostly joyful. Nice. Mostly joyful. Mine is somewhere in the middle. I think some people are joyful, and then some people are quiet, and then that kind of leads to that mix, kind of like what you're saying, Rebecca, for sure. Yeah, so it's a mix, right? Different churches, different people. Where are you and your church located? Big city, small town, or are you rural? Being from Chicago, we are big city over here. Rural, okay, nice. Small town, nice. Small town. Okay. Big city with Courtney, I see you. Small town with Sherry. Wonderful. You guys are going to see why these questions matter, I promise. And this you can either leave in the chat, or I want you to think to yourself, but how many generations are currently represented at your church? Think about it. So we've got how many kids, how many teenagers, how many adults, maybe Gen X or older millennial, how many Gen X, how many boomers, how many generations do you have at your church? Then on top of that, how many ethnicities are currently represented at your church, right? How many people from different, who come from different countries, who have different heritage, 5 to 6 generations. Wow, okay, that is awesome. I see 2, I see 3, 5 generations with Courtney, awesome. Yeah, so then think ethnicities, thinking everything that encompasses, just how many different ethnic groups can you say that you have at your church? 1 ethnicity, okay, that happens. Then how many languages are currently at your church? When it comes to languages, sometimes depending on where you're at, a lot of times the answer is just 1, and that's fine. If it's 1, that's what it is. Mostly white community in a rural setting and only English. Yeah, sometimes that's truly what it is. Nothing wrong with that. But you'll find that if you live maybe suburban town or small town, or especially if you live big city, 6, 7 to 8 ethnicities, yeah. 7 to 9 ethnicities with 3 to 4 languages, definitely. My church right now has more than a dozen ethnicities, and we're a small church. I'm talking maybe 40 on a Sunday. We have about a dozen ethnicities and easily about 7 to 8 languages on a given Sunday. So, what is multicultural worship and why does it matter, right? I'm going to break that down real fast before we move into the practical, because I think it's really important to understand, why does it matter? Why is this something that's worth it? Besides, some of you might say, yeah, I have no idea why it matters. And then some of you might say, oh, it's obvious why it matters. We're going to break it down so that everyone is on the same page today. I want you to think about this question as we go about just everything going on today. Would you consider your church's worship culture currently to be multicultural already? You can let me know in the chat, or you can just think amongst yourself as we go over some of these definitions. So here's a general definition that I like to give when it comes to multicultural worship. Um, it's basically the combination of various cultural factors with music, song, and other worshipful elements. So lifting of hands, just corporate worship, being together, fellowship in the body. Combination of cultural factors with all of that, all with the purpose of giving glory to God, of building a powerful, intimate worship community, and then also to get an early taste of heaven. And we'll break those three down, but that's essentially the definition here. It doesn't go anywhere beyond that. It doesn't really need to get more specific than that. You're taking the cultural into consideration and you're adding it with the worship, and we're moving it together all for the glory of God and for building up a powerful worship community in your church. So where does culture come from? What does culture even mean? It's a word we hear all the time. It's a word that maybe it makes you sick, and it's a word that maybe gets you very excited. Worship culture basically is just a combination of so many different elements, and it shapes a single person's life. And it's a framework that affects everything that you do, every decision you make, the thing you like, the things you dislike, the music you listen to, who you look for in a spouse. It affects everything. So culture, for the most part, comes from a lot of things, but to break down some of the more general ones, right? Ethnicity. What is your family's heritage? And then with that comes just by itself so many different factors. Generation. Your generation is a part of your culture. What decade you were born in and what was going around in that time is a part of you. It's what allows you to relate with other people, and it's what allows you to disagree with other people. The generation is a big part of your culture. If you have multiple cultures at your church, if you have multiple generations at your church, you have multiple cultures, right? So, but aside from generation, we have race, we have language, we have location, going back to big city, small town, rural. All those three different settings come with different cultures. I come big city. I know what it's like to wait outside for a bus in the middle of the snow. I know what it's like to just do a bunch of other things that maybe somebody from a small town would be like, I want nothing to do with that. That's not the life for me. I don't care for it. That's not, no. It's a culture. There are a lot of cultures just based on where you live. And then, of course, our traditions. What do you do for Christmas? What do you do for Easter? It's all cultural. A lot of our culture, when we are Christians and when we're involved in the church, we pick up a lot of these traditions and habits, just seeing what the body does, seeing what other people do, and that becomes a part of our culture. But culture is just so much more than just the language you speak and where your ancestors were from and things like that. It's you are living out a culture right now. You have a culture and you are living it out right now. And these are the various things that do affect that and make you different, which is awesome. So when it comes to multicultural worship, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because I can hear some people, and I've definitely gotten this before, who have been like, but Raquel, culture shouldn't matter in the church. People should be able to worship regardless of the culture. And that's true. While worship is an act of the heart, and worship should be able to happen towards God regardless of what's going on and regardless of, anything that's happening. Imagine if suddenly you were taken from your church. You were taken from your church and you were put into a church that was completely different. If you said that your church mostly sings hymns, imagine now you're at a church that sings mostly contemporaries. Imagine you were at a church where you are used to one ethnicity, one race, one language, and now you're at a church that is just completely different. It's going to take you a little bit, maybe, to plug into worship. It's going to take you maybe a little bit to feel comfortable. It's going to take you a while, probably, to start to learn these songs and to really start applying some kind of personal importance to them and things like that. If you are comfortable at your church, it's because you're comfortable with that church's culture. And you have that. Your church has culture, like the same way you do. And it does matter. There's a reason why at certain churches and things like that, we feel at home when they sing that one hymn or they sing that one Hillsong song. And it does something, right? It's a nostalgia almost. There's an emotional response, and that does help us even go deeper. So yeah, I would say everyone has that. And I think that you need to just acknowledge that it is important to you, whether you know that or not, and it is important to everyone else. So just keep that in mind, and just I pray that you do have an open mind and an open heart when it comes to everything here. So we want to stay in unity. We want to stay in love with our brothers and sisters. And that's why I thank you for taking on the challenge of maybe seeing, okay, how can your church open up a little bit more culturally when it comes to worship? How can you help someone else to really call this place home? So point number one here, if you're following on your worksheets, feel free to write some notes, ask any questions. But point number one is multicultural worship is for everyone. Is for everyone. Everyone who is here watching, this is for you. This is for your church. You can do this because, as I said before, culture isn't just language and culture isn't just ethnicity. You can be at a church that's one language, one ethnicity, and still be multicultural. Why? You have multiple generations. That by itself makes you a multicultural church. Multiple generations, you can have multiple races, you can have multiple, just different traditions, different backgrounds, different life stories. There's a big chance that you are already a multicultural church. You just might not be living it out yet. But that's what I want you to understand, that there's a big chance, no matter where you are, big city, you could be small town, you could be rural, there's a big chance that you are already multicultural and you're just not living it out. But this is for you. So we're going to get into how you can do that, how you can embrace that, how you can be open into that. But I truly want you to know that this is for you today. Today you can have this. Point two, multicultural worship is so much more than just singing in another language. And I hope that that's maybe a point that I've made already, but it goes so much more beyond just singing in another language. Multilingual does not mean multicultural. It can, it's a form of it. Don't think it's not, it's a branch of it, but it's not the only thing there is. And I'll share a story with you all. In my church, we've been doing, we have a Spanish congregation and an English congregation, and we had to do some work to repair some of the relationship with the Spanish congregation because in past years, when we would do bilingual services about once a month, bring both congregations together, we would think, whatever, Spanish congregation, we'll just do this Hillsong song because they recorded a version in Spanish, and because it's in Spanish, it'll be fine. That's the song. We'll do these types of songs. When it goes so much beyond that, our Spanish congregation is very immigrant heavy. People who have come from different countries in older age, who have brought their kids and who are here and who are hardworking and who have come to this church and have found a family, and they connect and singing songs from their land, singing old corritos, we call them, just these old hymns, these old songs in Spanish that they don't have English translations for those. I've tried. I'm translating a lot of them on my own because they're just not available. And the mistake was made of thinking, oh, but if a song is in Spanish, then that should be good enough. It's different. It's different. There's so much different context. So it goes so much beyond being multilingual. There's so many other factors that are involved in being multicultural. But point three, multicultural worship reflects the heart of God. And I have a couple verses here for you. Just the Bible is full of stories of talking about the Israelites and talking about different neighboring nations and things like that. But God has been very clear in his word that the nations, the entire world is his. And it is written, as surely as I live, says the Lord, every knee will bow before me. Every tongue will confess to God. Romans 14:11. Also, Revelations, that's spelled wrong. Revelations 9:7. After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne. It has always been God's will to have the nations be His, and to be able to open our churches to being multicultural, to accepting and embracing all these nations, to accepting and embracing all these generations, accepting and embracing all of these ethnic backgrounds, all of these traditional backgrounds. It is a taste of heaven. It's a taste of heaven. That's a common thought. When Christ comes back for His people, there will be people from every nation. So why not start having that kind of fun now? I love it. I'm down for it, and I hope you are. Again, you might be in a place where you say, not every nation is where I live. That's cool. But could you imagine every generation at your church worshiping in unity? There's a lot of generation wars, right? There are people who are older don't like the younger ones because insert reason here, and the younger ones don't like the older because insert reason here. And yeah, we know racism is bad, and we don't talk bad about ethnic groups, and yet we're willing to slander other generations. And that doesn't feel edifying to me. And I think that that's something that requires a lot of reconciliation in the church. What if the generations in our body could worship together in unity? Think about it. So let's not build walls. Let's not build fortresses. Let's not build moats. Let's not be stubborn. Let's not try to gatekeep and say, oh, we only do it this way. And if you don't like it, you gotta go. Let's build bridges. Let's build bridges. Being multicultural is about building bridges. It's about learning and being a little bit uncomfortable, and it's about being together and just connecting. We are here to edify the body. And if you have people in your church who maybe don't know hymns or maybe don't know the contemporaries, let's build bridges. Let's figure out a way to be in unity. But yeah, come on, bridges, let's do it. So jumping into the practical. How can my church do this? I am here with a couple of steps for you. Feel free to take pictures. I've also got my email at the end, so I can send you a copy of the slides. But I'm going to speed through this a little bit. How to get started with multicultural worship, because I believe in you and I know you can do it. And I know that is God's will for your church to be a bridge in whatever community that you are in. You're going to start with prayer and introspection. You're going to start with prayer and you're going to pray, God, search my heart, because it starts with you. It starts with you. See your motivations. Why do you want to do this? What is the benefit of doing this? Are you ready for what might happen, for people to yell at you and things like that? Are you ready? Start with prayer, forever and always, with everything. That's just great advice for anything. Start with prayer. Number 2, research, research, research. Lean not on your own understanding, not in any sense. Just be there and be willing to have an open mind, an open heart, be humble, be open, and just be willing to learn something new. But do your research. What are songs? What are things? And I'll give you some advice on that in just a little bit here. Number 3, involve people. Involve people. Don't try to do this alone. Involve people and ask questions. This has to do with the call to action that I have for you at the end here, but don't do this alone. Look for the different cultures that you have represented in your church, and just be willing to go out and reach out and get that information from them. They'd love to let you know, I promise. And number 4, start slowly. Don't feel like you got to rush into this. You are taking the initiative just by being here. By being here, you've taken the initiative. You're going to take those steps. Do it slowly. Take some time, make sure you know that you're thinking things through, but also to give people a little bit more time to acclimate. You suddenly don't want to jump in on a Sunday. And if you've never done like a Chris Tomlin song before, and now your entire set this Sunday is like Chris Tomlin and Phil Wickham, and everyone's staring at you, and it's like, but what about my green buck? Start slowly. Give people a chance to acclimate. So some tips for how you can get started. New music Mondays, new music Sundays, right? That's a good chance on a Sunday. My recommendation is at the bottom, no more than 1 to 2 songs new a month. Just repeat them a handful of times in your set, just so that way people can get used to them and learn the lyrics. Otherwise, sometimes people will kind of just read the lyrics and kind of just read and not really join in. But New Music Sundays is a great way to start introducing some new songs, but also some new habits. Multicultural isn't just songs, but also maybe your church doesn't lift hands, but you truly believe in your heart that that's a sincere form of worship. Maybe your church doesn't do dancing or anything, and maybe you feel, maybe you can't stop yourself from dancing. Um, excuse me. Just introducing, sorry, introducing worshipful elements into your Sundays slowly. Throwback Sunday, bring in some hymns. All Nations Month, bring in a bilingual or trilingual version of the song that you guys already sing, and get your congregation used to it. Start with a bridge. But in all things, please, 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 I want you to rejoice in all things. Please never forget to do that. The Bible says, rejoice in all things, and in all things ask God, and he will provide. And I really believe that if you are willing to do the work, and if you are willing to really take a chance on creating bridges in your church towards your community, creating bridges inside of your church towards the people who are there, God's going to do wonderful things. God is going to do wonderful, magnificent things. So in all things, rejoice for the things that you will see. So a couple resources to get started. Please feel free to take photos there. These are some of my absolute favorite sites in the world, especially proskuneo ministries. Proskuneo is the Greek word for worship. They write a lot of songs and have a lot of resources, as well as the Berean Test. That's one of my favorite sites for just anything. It's a blog that breaks down the theology behind a lot of songs, hymns, and currently popular. And some songs are no-go, no matter how popular they are. And some songs are absolutely perfect and they need to be put back into the list. So I absolutely recommend that you look through there. Absolutely look up and report research done by Urbana Worship called Cultures of Worship. It's a free PDF available online, and it breaks down the 4 big ethnic groups in the United States and the role of the worship leader in every single one of them. And it's all different. And I absolutely recommend that you go through that when you get a chance. Call to action, just talk to somebody. Find 2 to 3 people in your church who represent a different culture, a different generation, a different ethnic group, a different race, anything. Talk to them and see what it is that they maybe would love to hear. And I say that they're your starting point because they are the people that God has given you before you go looking for anybody. Before you start doing bilingual services and you don't got no Spanish speakers and nobody at your church, start with who you have. Start with who God has given you. Ask them all the questions, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to give you some answers to get you started on how you can start incorporating multicultural worship elements into your Sunday services. So yeah, that's it. I am available always. Here's my email and my Instagram. I don't really check Facebook, but please email me, send me a message on Instagram, please. If you want these slides, I will send you a copy. I'm so excited for everyone here. And I know that you can do this. And I know that God will grant you grace and favor and mercy and wisdom to get it done. I believe in you. I believe in God more than you, but I still believe in you a lot. So you guys got it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Raquel. Thank you for spending your time with us today and just this really practical and inspirational, really, talk about multicultural services and really good ways to get going on that.